Okay, so yeah, after that confusion, we are actually here live today, and we have Shilpa Suraj joining us. Her latest release was Love, Marriage, and Other Disasters, which released on 3rd of April. And she's kindly agreed to talk to us about the perfect idea. Whether whether it's a reality or is it a myth is what we are going to ask Shilpa today. Hi Shilpa,
Hi,
welcome.
Shweta. Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
So how's the quarantine working out for you?
Well, we are coping. I think that's the best word to use. Coping, surviving. It's all right. I think we're privileged in many ways. We're
Yeah,
managing. I have an extremely precautious 4-year-old to keep occupied inside the four
yeah.
walls of the house. So that is a challenge. I have newfound respect for her teachers. And I truly believe they do not get paid enough for what the job that they do. But no, otherwise it's all right, and we're doing okay. Touch wood, God's grace. So far, so good. Yeah.
So, like we decided, I wanted to ask you about that perfect idea concept that a lot of readers and general public has about authors. That one fine day you get that perfect idea out of the blue, and you just write it down, and your job is done. So, is that a reality?
No, I don't think there is a perfect anything in this world. Forget an idea. There is literally nothing that could be perfect. I think there are ideas, plenty of them. Uh, there are creative ideas. There are ideas that you've seen done 100 times before, but have been treated differently in a story. So I think all you have as an author are ideas, and how they evolve, how you work on them, how you get them to come together to tell a cohesive, interesting, entertaining story. That's where your skill and talent comes into the picture. And there is also whether, I mean, you get asked these questions all the time in interviews, right? Are you a plotter, are you a pantser, are you this, are you that? I don't think there is any one thing that you are. You get an idea of a story, you want to tell a story, there's a story that you want to tell everybody, you sit down to write it, and that story just evolves in so many different ways. I mean, ways that even you don't think, you've probably not imagined that climax, that finale, climax pun intended, that finale or whatever is coming, or the twists and turns that are coming in the story. You probably haven't imagined it the first day you sat down and started on chapter one. So there's a lot of work that goes in even in the first draft, and that's not even taking into account all the edits and the revisions that you do later. When you get feedback from your editors, when you get feedback from your beta readers, or even when you just read it and say, "Oh my God, what did I just write? That's awful." I'm like,
I, I guess
what was I
that
thinking?
I guess that happens a lot. Like when you're a writer, you often think of an idea. When you think of it in your head, it sounds great, and when you write down, maybe it doesn't sound so great anymore. Does that happen a lot?
It does, it does. Sometimes it is, so it's all depends on that moment. Sometimes it comes out beautifully, and sometimes it's terrible. I mean, you're reading it, and even as you're typing it, you're thinking, "Oh my God, what am I writing?" Sometimes you think it's rubbish, but the somebody else who reads it says it's fantastic. So it's all, a lot of it is perspective. A lot of it. It depends on the kind of story you're trying to tell, the mood you're trying to capture, the tone that you're trying to capture. All of that plays into it a lot. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it to get it exactly right, or at least as right as you think you can get it. Because even once the book is out, you thought it's great, your beta readers thought it's great, your editors, publishers, everyone thought it's great. But once it's out, you get reviews that say, "What is this rubbish?" And you're like, okay, so it's all perspective. I mean, it depends on what each one is looking for in that story.
And even when we are talking about ideas, there are so many elements to a story, and there are some people who would say that there are cliches in certain genres and some elements that you combine, and think that this is going to work because, oh god, this has got a handsome hunk in it and lots of
A
action,
show plus
or
hero on the cover.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So a lot of things like that, and then you think that you have reached that perfect combination or something, and then it doesn't work.
So I do believe very strongly in one thing, and that is that you need to write the story that's in your head, the story that you want to tell. I think if you
Mhm,
sit down to write a story that you think, sells in today's market, and so
mhm,
it will be a success, I think that is when the story starts to feel flat, starts to feel, very been there, done that, or even like, oh my God, what if, we've read this 100 times before, because they have read it 100 times before. And just
mhm,
because they read it and they loved it before doesn't mean you need to write the same thing with a few words changed here and there again. Ideas like, if you look at it, when you talk about tropes or cliches
mhm,
as such, second chance romances, or the fake relationship, or the secret baby. I mean, there are all of these so-called cliches and tropes that you have in the romance genre, and I'll talk about the romance genre because that's the genre I write in a lot. But it is how you take that 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 germ, that trope, and how you
mhm,
treat it, and the story that you evolve from it, the characters that you can build, the kind of depth
mhm,
that you can give them, and the secondary characters and the plot and everything. That is what takes an idea to a great story, and that
mhm.
is what will tell your talent as a storyteller.
Uh-huh. And also, I know that you are a voracious reader yourself. So, does it ever happen to you that you think of a plot or you get an idea and you think it's great, and then think that, oh, maybe I've read this somewhere and this is not original?
Uh, no, I don't think so. I think because when you sit down, so if you look at it, I mean, you write a story which is a second chance romance, you can look at it and say there have been so many second chance romances in the market. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone isn't a Ryan and Sia, like from the first book that I wrote. It isn't
Mm-hmm.
their story. Their problems are their problems, which were why they were not together, what brought them back together. Each book, the treatment is different, the story is different, the idea may be the same. That's basically two people fell in love, drifted apart, came back together. That basic
Mm-hmm.
idea may be the same, but everything else that comes after is what needs to be different.
The situations and their individual reactions, everything, right?
And just the people they are also.
Mm-hmm.
Just the sketching, the kind of detailed character sketching that you need to do, the plot that you need to flesh out, all of that.
Uh-huh. So, if I remember right, Love, Marriage, and Other Disasters is the second book that you have ever written, right? And it's finally seen the light of the day
Yeah, it is.
and finally landed in a lot of people's Kindle.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about that.
So this is a story that I actually feel very passionate about. I started writing it immediately after I finished writing The Girl He Left Behind. Like I didn't have any idea whether The Girl He Left Behind would even get published or anything would happen with it. But I started writing the story, and it's a story that I'm extremely passionate about, because when we talk about second chance romances, we talk about people who loved each other, drifted apart, came back together. But we don't talk about people who forget second chances. Sometimes people need three, four, five, six chances before they get a shot at happiness. But we don't talk about the people who have the courage to keep taking those chances,
Yeah.
because when you've taken that risk the first time or the second time, and it's failed so miserably and backfired so badly, it takes
Mhm.
tremendous courage to step up again and say, I'm going to risk myself again, I'm going to risk my feelings again. And for
Mhm.
me, that is why Alicia is so special, because she has built her life back from an abusive relationship brick by brick on her own steam. Yes, she
Mhm.
has support. Yes, she has lovely family. She has everyone who's standing by her. But at the end of the day, and I sincerely believe this, no matter how much support you have, no matter how many people you have standing at your back, you fight your battles alone.
Mhm.
It takes a lot out of someone to stand up there and fight those battles and come out a winner. And that is why this story, this character is so special to me, because I think what she is able to do Not just It's not just about risking herself for another relationship or risking her heart because she found a great guy who's hot and makes her squiggle and all of those. That's the fun part of the story. That's the, the lighter element. But it's about the fact that this woman at such a young age found that everything that she thought her life would be was destroyed, and then she started afresh, and she started afresh without waiting for someone to come rescue her. She rescued
Mhm.
herself. She was her own knight in shining armor. And
Mhm.
she was a, I mean, she didn't wait for this guy to come and make her whole,
Haha.
right? She's a whole person by herself.
Yeah.
That is what makes her so incredible. It makes him fall in love with her.
Mhm. And the book deals with this subject, that how the stigma of a divorcee affects women in our society.
Yes.
What made you want to write about that?
So
And in the way you have actually handled it is something else.
something else in a good way.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I think people are very quick to judge, whether it is divorce, whether it is whatever it may be, people's choices. People are very quick to judge. They're very quick to sit in judgment in a very sanctimonious way and say, "Oh my God, I don't know what is wrong with," and they're very quick to find fault without
Mhm.
ever having understood why someone is doing what they are doing. More
Mhm.
importantly, I feel like, why do you even need to understand? You're not living her life. She's living her life. Let her
Mhm.
choose what works for her. It may not necessarily be what works for you. But
Mhm.
somehow that is, I think, a concept that people seem to struggle with. And for me, Alicia's struggle is in that she doesn't care what anybody thinks, but she feels that because her family has been so supportive and has stood by her, she should care for their sake,
Mhm.
you know. So that's her
Uh-huh.
her internal conflict. Like, she would like to tell everybody, go hang yourself, I'm going to do this, but then,
Mhm.
she's trying to think about the fact that, her parents have always been there for her, they've stood by her, so maybe she should, do the right thing that they feel is the right thing, rather. And I personally feel right and wrong is extremely subjective. One, situations like this, there's a lot of perspective involved, and when it comes to divorce, um, I think people don't realize just how much grief there is involved. It's a difficult call to take. It's an end of a relationship. There's
Yeah, because nobody really walks into a relationship or starts a relationship thinking कि अच्छा ठीक है, after 6 months down the line I'll get a divorce.
Yes,
Nobody steps in with that plan.
and no matter what the reason, no matter what has brought you to that point, it's never an easy call.
Mhm.
So I feel like, people shouldn't be judged. They should be supported. They should be understood if that is their call, if that is the call that they wish to take,
Mhm.
if at all.
Now let's talk about the two hunks in Alisha's
Yeah.
life, Vivan and Arjun.
So, Arjun is incredible, to be honest. I mean, Arjun should totally be the.
Actually, I'm Team Arjun.
Yeah, I think most people are Team Arjun, and that is why this is so difficult. I keep telling everyone, Mr. Dependable is very hot in this book. So Arjun is a widower. He was extremely in love with his wife, who dies of breast cancer, and he's the guy who Alicia's parents would like her to marry. But like, Alicia gets along very well with him. He ticks all the boxes, but he doesn't make her feel hot. He doesn't make her squiggle, which Vivan does. And he's younger. He's perceived as being more immature because he's just a more he's a bubbly personality. That's who he is. He loves it. He's had, I wouldn't say he's had an easy time, but life has gone his way. He's not had too many things to battle like Arjun and Alicia have. So he's less guarded in the way he approaches life. He's got a big heart. He's not willing to show it, and he's willing to embrace everyone along the way. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough choice. I don't know honestly if I were her who I would have chosen myself.
I think we should go for Arjun. Though I have to fight you for him, but still, let's go for Arjun. Talking about that, when are we getting Arjun's story?
Arjun's story,
I want his happily ever after.
yeah, he's definitely getting his happily ever after. I'm halfway through writing his story, and it should be out within a few months, not too late.
Hmm.
I love the way the story is going so far, and I think I found the perfect heroine for him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any chance the other half is named Devdatta?
we can always work that in and request.
Okay, but you have another release coming up quite quickly, maybe May end.
Yes,
Do
yes, I
you
have
want
another
to
story.
give a sneak peek?
Yes, I have another story which is extremely close to my heart. It's called A Barren Heart. Uh, it's um it's a beautiful story about a couple who's married. So for once, my protagonists are already married. They're not getting to that point of should we marry each other or not. They're madly in love with each other, and they struggle with something that is an issue that most people don't want to talk about, which is infertility or the struggle to conceive. Uh, and it's a story that deals with the I wouldn't say it's a taboo topic, but I think it's a topic that people just bury really deep and don't
Hmm.
want to talk, maybe because it hurts so much. And again, it's
Yeah,
something you get judged for quite easily. So
yeah,
it's a story that brings it out, tells you how hard it is from both sides, because you have people who, want don't understand why you're not having because you're not talking about it, why you're not having a child. They're like, oh, they must be thinking about their career or whatever. And then there are people who know and still say, have you done this? Have you tried this? Either way, it's like someone, scraping
yeah,
away
yeah.
your wound. So, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful story which I'm very very fond of, and I'm just waiting to see what everybody thinks of it when it releases.
It seems Captain Jack wants to say hi.
Yes, actually saying hi to the strays on the road, not us.
Okay, thank you for joining us today, Shilpa.
Thanks so much
Uh,
for having me.
yeah, so everybody who's viewed us live and who is going to see us later on, the Shilpa's latest release is called Love, Marriage, and Other Disasters, and it's available on Kindle Unlimited. And the link is there in the video comment section. Do check it out, and if you have any questions for Shilpa and requests for Arjun's partner's name, feel free to comment and we'll get back to you.
I will be happy to tell.
Thank, but I got in there first, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, people, stay in, stay inside, and stay safe. We'll see you again on 13th, and we'll be joined by Reshma Krishnan. Thank you.
Thanks, Devdatta.